Good morning, everybody. This is Bruce Warner. I'm just checking to see how many board members we've got here. We're missing a couple still. As we get maybe one or two more here, we'll start the public forum.
Good morning, President Warner. I don't know if you've accounted for me, but I'm here.
I don't see you there, okay? Oh, there you are. Good.
Hello.
Okay, we're doing better here now. So I know that Kathy Way will be, Director Way will be a little bit late here this morning, so we won't see her. I'm not seeing Director Edwards yet. So Jeff, good morning. How many people have signed up to testify this morning?
Good morning, Bruce. We have 3 who have signed up so far.
All right. I think I see those. I'll ask you to call them in a minute here. Yeah, we're understanding that Director Edwards is having some issues getting in, but that's being worked on. So I think in the interest of time, if it's all right with the rest of the board, I'd like to get started on the public testimony, open the public forum, because we have a large agenda today, and I want to make sure we have time to go through that. So with that, I'm going to open the public forum for the Trimet Board of Directors for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. And for those of you who may be attending or participating for the first time, this is an opportunity. We provide 45 minutes before our normal board meeting to allow people to testify on items on the agenda or anything else of interest or concern that the Board of Directors needs to hear about TriMet. And at the end, in the general manager comments, if there's questions or things that we can answer, we'll try to get a response to you then, or steer you to the right person. So with that, I'm going to start the public forum. And Jeff, do you want to open up the mic for the first participant? And I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to limit the testimony to 3 minutes. I'm going to ask Jeff to also put the timer up so everybody does have a chance to participate. It looks like we'll have lots of time. So Jeff, go ahead.
Great. So first up is going to be Thomas Craig. Thomas, I've unmuted your microphone.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Thomas Craig. I'm a lifelong Portlander who lives near Columbia Park, just off the line 75, which is your best bus line, in my humble opinion. I have a request and a short story.
Okay.
My request is that you consider adapting your board meeting process just slightly to ensure that board meeting agendas are released 6 days in advance of monthly meetings by the Thursday prior to the meeting. This is slightly longer in advance than the 4-day requirement of your bylaws, but as 2 of those days are weekend days, the current 4-day requirement provides only 2 business days of time to consider upcoming agenda items. Opal's Bus Riders Unite recently moved its meetings a week earlier to the Thursday prior to the monthly board meeting, and this slight adjustment to your schedule would help us coordinate, consider, and offer you improved feedback at these meetings.
Oh, thank you. That's a good comment.
My story takes place a few years in the future. In 2026 or so, a single mother of 2 young children who cares deeply about the environment and who has family in the region is considering moving here, in part because of our reputation as a green city. She flies into PDX with her children and first heads to her cousin's house in Gladstone. She likes the new Max Red Line station at PDX and is glad she doesn't need to rent a car for the trip. After a short time on the train, she plans to transfer to the green line at Gateway, but upon alighting from the red line, she's a bit confused at first. There's no other train platforms around. Ah, she sees it now. Down there. With her kids in tow, one in a stroller and the other by the hand, she walks more than a football field down to the other platform after a wait transfers to the green line. They're on their way now. The transfer at Clackamas Town Center breaks their stride once again, though. After another football field's walk, but this one down a long ramp of switchbacks, that puts them next to the bus stop, where they wait about 20 minutes for the bus. Her toddler is getting pretty ornery at this point, but she's prepared and brought extra snacks. She's also a bit ornery and also eats a snack. The next day, they're ready to visit a friend in the area she's considering buying a house in Sullivan's Gulch. Yesterday was a bit harrowing, and the morning started off a bit frantic, so she gets them a Lyft ride to Clackamas Town Center to avoid waiting over 30 minutes for the next bus, but plans to ride transit from there. The trip on the Green Line back north is easy, but at Hollywood Transit Center, where she plans to transfer to the 77, she gets a bit confused again. The train lets her off on a platform next to a freeway, and she follows signs to an elevator which turns out to be broken down, baby, and thankfully a light foldable stroller in her arm and toddler behind. She gets up the stairs and sees another football field and a half in front of her leading to the bus stop. And when she gets to that bus stop, she finds there's a 4-lane road clogged with traffic to cross before she and her kids can board the 77. It's about this time that she realizes that this may not really be a green region, and as she rides the 77 the next mile, she's looking up housing prices in Austin on her phone. Today might be a good day to ask more questions about the Better Red project and ask whether the stories we're writing today are the ones we want to listen to tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it.
All right, next up is Clary Canard. Clary, you're unmuted.
Good morning. My name is Clary Canard. I'm a member of ATU 757, and I've worked for the Lyft Central Dispatch and Lyft Region 1 for 14 years until the pandemic last year and Trimet shut our yard down. I'm speaking to the board today to demand you commit to the reopening of Region 1 and Region 2 by September, when unemployment extensions are exhausted and more citizens are vaccinated. Region 1 is the oldest region in the program with the most experienced drivers, and these shutdowns occurred without regard for experience and seniority. Trimet consistently disregards the loyalty and security of the employees who support the most vulnerable in our community. COVID has been no exception. Trimet's current plan is to bring Region 1 back last when we carry the most senior members. Region 2 is running at partial capacity, mostly grocery runs, and drivers are not assigned more work than a few grocery deliveries, then sent home, which is not enough to live on. COVID is a mass disabling event. Pre-pandemic, Lyft averaged 6,000 rides a day or more. 10 years ago, when we averaged 4,000 rides a day, the regions couldn't keep up with demand and often didn't meet contract goals for on-time performance, regardless of how numbers have been massaged to reflect otherwise. Even at partial capacity, we can utilize drivers at all regions to the betterment of the program, with Trimet's intent to retain grocery runs and increased eligibility numbers as more of the public need our service due to COVID disability. Region 1 and Region 2 need to be moving towards reopening. Thank you.
Thank you, Clary. But maybe Sam could talk on that, about that general manager's comments, because I think I'm really not familiar with the Region 1 and Region 2, so maybe we can just get an update on that, if you would, Sam.
Will do. Thank you, President Warner.
Okay. Next speaker.
All right, our last raised hand so far is Ethan Jones. Ethan, you are unmuted.
Hello, I'm Ethan Jones. I'm from Forest Grove, and for 21 years, we've been asking, the city of Forest Grove has been asking for the max to come out here, and we've constantly done so, and we have nothing. We all know that the bus isn't the same as the train. It's slower. It's less effective at what it needs to do, which is bringing people around this amazing green area that we've advertised. So that's a problem I see not just here in Forest Grove and Cornelius, but in pretty much all of the entire Trimet system. We have this mentality of, if they come, we will build it. But we all know it's, if we build it, they will come. And so it's very disappointing to see that we're not actually taking the initiative to get these big expansions that could not only expand the money that Trimet has for these massive projects and for maintaining what they already have, but they aren't making something that could actually get more people riding transit, which is actually making transit go places where people want to go, like a west to McMinnville, or something that skips downtown and goes to Tigard. There's a lot of these things that need to be addressed before we can actually have a good transit system. And I think I've ridden the Max my whole life, going to Portland with my grandparents, but I think people really do need to see what changes can be made, and that we can do amazing things. But we actually have to start by doing them, not waiting for someone to say, oh, we need this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. This is Bruce Warner. I just want to let you know my district is the district you're residing in the Trimet system, and there's been a lot of discussion about how best to provide transit service out there, and I think you've hit on the issues. Light rail is very expensive. We try to provide the best service we can, and I'll guarantee you there's a lot of areas in the region that would like to have a light rail extended to them. The good news is that Forest Grove has a rail line that goes from Hillsborough all the way to Forest Grove, and so when the time is right, that can be provided quite easily at less cost than we would in other places. But frankly, the
My thing
ridership,
is,
Ethan, I'm sorry, I don't want to get into a debate on it. I just want to let you know that
okay,
we're aware of it. We know about it, and I understand the needs, and we are trying our best to provide the best service we can out there. And I don't think a light rail is in the cards for a number of years. And I want to be honest with you on that one. So, Jeff, are there other people that need to speak to us this morning?
I do not see any more raised hands today. So
All right.
that appears to be it.
All right, thank you. Well, with that, I'm going to close the public forum. I am seeing still we're deficient a few board members here. Is Director Edwards with us now?
Director Warner, both Director Edwards and Director Simmons are trying to get in. Kim Angove and Jeff are working with them. So that they're present, they're just trying to get in.
I guess we do have our committee reports that we can provide right now. What's the board think? You want to give a couple more minutes to see if we can get people to get signed in here before we move forward? We do have enough. I think we have a quorum, so we could do open the business meeting, but I don't want to see people miss some of these this information. So why don't we give another 5 minutes here, if that's okay?
Oh, I was going to say I'm fine with giving the cat report, but I'll
Let's
defer
wait
to the
5
rest of the
minutes here,
group.
see if we can get another member or two here, if you don't mind, Director Bauman.
Okay, sure.
What I will do, however, is I will call the regular business meeting for June 23rd, 2021 of the Trimet Board of Directors to order. So we've got that taken care of. Get started. Well, I know Director Simmons was in the earlier meeting, so she could get into that, and Director Edwards seems to have a ongoing problem trying to connect up there. We're going to have to work on that. And Sam, I don't know whether you have the contact information for Ethan, the guy who testified about the Forest Grove light rail extension. It might be one that the staff wants to talk with him a little bit more, give him kind of the realities of light rail versus other transit and what's really needed to support a light rail system.
Director
Okay.
Horner, this is Steve. Oh, sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say we'd be happy to follow up.
Thank you. Yeah, his heart's in the right place.
And Jeff, if you can get that information from him, that would be great.
Yes, we'll do.
You guys are just trying to remind me, this is why I want the President-elect Simmons to take over here in another week and run these meetings. It's done well, but occasionally we do have a hiccup with the technology.
Even better when we start meeting in person.
There
technology
you
will be
go.
An issue.
Yeah.
Since Director Ballen brought it up, pardon Lori, pardon Director Ballen, is there a plan to go back in person in the subsequent months? Do we have any decisions on that matter?
I think they're probably looking at you, Sam, on that one. See if you guys have talked about that.
I will be talking with Director Simmons or President Simmons here probably early July and following up with the board in a conversation.
Sounds like a potentially imminent. I see that there are some things starting to go back to in-person events. I wonder. Thank you.
Well, why don't we get started in the board reports? So Director Bauman, I know you were ready to go. So why don't I ask you to do the report on the Committee on Accessible Transportation?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. The CAT met last week, June 16th. There were 3 noteworthy items at the meeting. First, Brenda Martin and Ben Baldwin from Service Planning discussed the Southwest Alder project, and that is the project relating to the relocation of bus line 15 downtown from Southwest Salmon to Southwest Alder. The board voted on that change a couple of months ago. The issue discussed with the CAT was where to place bus stops on Alder. There are concerns about accessibility of those stops in the area of Southwest 18th. And the CAT is going to continue to deliberate on how to ensure accessibility when the 15 is relocated. Secondly, there was a presentation regarding how the Trimet Mobility Center has been operating during the pandemic, especially with regard to processing applications for Lyft eligibility when the in-person operations have been limited. Finally, there was a discussion of the proposed contract with Transdev North America to take over as the contractor for Lyft service. And that is the matter that the board is going to consider at this meeting. The CAT discussed it and felt comfortable with the transition to Transdev for Lyft service. And this was my last CAT meeting after nearly 6 years of attending the meetings, and thank you to Director Edwards for taking over as the board liaison to CAT.
Thank you, Director Ballen,
it.
and thank you for your service on this committee. I know you have some passion for it, so it's appreciated you're there. We're looking forward to keep taking over your role. Are there questions or comments for Director Ballen on the Committee on Accessible Transportation? I'm hearing none. So with that, we'll move on. And what I did say is Kathy Way, Director Way, is not here, I don't believe yet. Will not be joining us for a while. So I'm going to go down to the next board report, which is the Transit Equity Advisory Committee. Director Gonzalez, are you ready for that?
I am. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We met on the 8th of June for what will be my last Transit Equity Advisory Committee meeting as well. It was a fantastic conversation. The agenda began with an update from me on the GM search, which, as many know now, we've now concluded. And I'm thrilled to see us having made such a fantastic process go smoothly and culminate in what I consider to be a great conclusion. At that time, we had some updates for the committee, and it was right before all of it was about to be finalized. So they had knowledge right up until the day of June 8th. And I took some questions from the committee members about the efforts and the next steps. Some of the comments that came out of that were a deep interest in ensuring that our new GM would have a connection with the Transit Equity Advisory Committee and an interest in maintaining a strong and growing collaboration with them. So, staff would probably be inviting you, General Manager Dessou, to come visit us at some point in TIAC, and they would be happy to see you and hear from you. Then there was an update from the Oregon Health Authority Partnership, which is a program that Trimet is running to provide free fares to community members that are going out to get their vaccine appointments, to fulfill their vaccine appointments. So to date, we have over 28,000 trips that have been validated through that program for different community members. So those passes represent trips to the vaccine clinics, and we have relied on a lot of support from staff as well as from community partners to be involved in the rollout of this program. So special kudos to everybody involved in those activities. And then partners from ERCO shared an opportunity for TIAC members and other community organizations to connect their youth to the Summer Works Jobs program provided by Work Systems Incorporated. That's a program that helps provide paid internships for youth and work experience throughout the metro region. So if any youth out there are interested, the Summer Works program is actively engaging. Trimet is sponsoring 21 opportunities this summer, and we're also partnering with many members of our Transit Equity Advisory Committee so that some of the folks in the Summer Works program can support the efforts of those organizations as well. So it's a fantastic partnership, and it looks like things are picking up with both virtual and in-person opportunities for youth. That was an exciting update. And then Emily Reed from Columbia Gorge Pass Program provided an overview of that new program. It's a round trip loop service that goes along the Old Columbia Highway, actually crosses into Washington to Vancouver and back and around. It's a growing service that can provide greater access to the Columbia Gorge, connects with other transit options, and connects folks from the metro area with all that wonderful, beautiful, natural amenity that is the Columbia Gorge to the east of us. So it's a really nice program, and Trimet is working in collaboration with that program as well. So it was a fantastic meeting overall. Trimet staff shared an update about the new Safety Advisory Committee, And of course, I had an opportunity to say thank you to the group and to let them know they're in good hands with Director Y as she steps into the role of the liaison. Oh, and finally, sorry, one more thing that was an important thing I wouldn't want to miss. It was an action-packed meeting, clearly. There's an upcoming fair research project that has been made possible to research the parameters of fair, how fairs are evaluated, and to compare Trimet's programs against others in the country, and look at new ways of using external sources to fund fairs. So this is an exciting program, again, in partnership with community members, and they're currently soliciting members to join that committee. So you can find out about that through Trimet's online, or if you are affiliated with any of the TIAC community partners.
Thank you very much, Director Gonzalez. I appreciate your very thorough report. And again, thank you for your service on that committee, a very important committee. And you're right, we'll look forward to Director Way stepping in and taking over as the liaison for that committee. Are there questions or comments for Director Gonzalez on the TIAC report? I'm not hearing any. I did get a note, though, that we have a staff person, Jeff Owen, who is ready and was planning on giving a report on the Metro Policy Advisory Committee for Director Way. So, Jeff, are you on the line and unmuted?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Board President, members of the board. Here on behalf of Director Y this morning. There were two main updates at the last MPAC meeting. It occurred on May 26th. The first item of discussion was updates from local jurisdictions on the 2018 urban growth boundary expansion areas, and specifically their work on increasing the supply of housing in those areas. So each jurisdiction reported out on their progress, and the four UGB expansion areas from the 2018 expansion were Beaverton, Cooper Mountain, in Hillsborough, it's Witch Hazel South, and King City, Beef Bend South, and finally Wilsonville, Frog Pond area. So these expansion areas range from around 150 acres to is the smallest one, up to 1,200 acres. So the Trimet planning team remains connected to this topic to help think through with the local jurisdictions how to potentially serve these areas that are recently included into the urban growth boundary with transit service. So that will be a continued conversation going forward. The second item at the May 26th meeting was an update from Metro staff on the congestion pricing update, where Metro staff is leading an effort studying 4 different ways to potentially have pricing in the region into the future. They're not necessarily making a recommendation, but they're providing information to decision makers across the region. One method they've looked at is cordon pricing that would charge drivers to enter a certain boundary area. The second is vehicle miles traveled, or road user charge. That would be a charge based on how many miles someone travels by automobile. The third method they studied is a roadway charge, or plural roadways, to travel on a specific section of a roadway. And then the fourth is parking charges applied to park a car in specific areas. So again, this effort is not necessarily making recommendations, but providing information to decision makers. This effort is also not quite the same as the ODOT effort or the City of Portland effort underway now, but they are coordinating both with the ODOT tolling program and the City of Portland's, what you might have heard to referred as the POEM effort, which is pricing options for equitable mobility. So this work is wrapping up soon into July, and after July it will be adopted by the Metro Council and eventually wrapped into the next update of the Regional Transportation Plan, also called the RTP. So finally, the next meeting of MPAC is this evening, June 23rd, and we'll have 2 main topics on the agenda. The first one is hearing from the Port of Portland on the importance of upgrading to a seismic resilient runway. And then the second item will be a panel of housing experts on breaking down the barriers to affordable housing. So that wraps up the impact report, and happy to tackle any questions if there are.
Bruce, you're muted.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much for your report. Again, appreciate it. And I would want, and it was a very thorough report. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by the board members? I'm hearing none. Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate it. So we're still having problems with a couple board members getting in. I just want to check to make sure Director Simmons is not in by phone.
We have
No, Director Simmons is here.
I'm here now.
Okay, good. Okay,
How I'm here, but I'm here.
all right. Well, then can I call on you to provide a quick report on the Finance and Audit Committee this morning?
Yes. And then later you can tell me what I missed. Okay.
All right.
Mr. President. Yes. At today's Finance and Audit Committee, we just had an abbreviated meeting, and it was really to look and go over what is already in your board packet, having to do with changes that were needed to true up the FY22 budget that we're going to approve today. Obviously, since we normally would approve the budget in May, but we moved it to June because of the settlement with the union contract, it allowed us to true up certain information within the budget having to do with the settlement, some capital projects issues, and some, let's see, contract kinds of issues. So it's all in your board packet. That was the only thing that we covered today. However, I have another important matter to bring before the board this morning. Today marks a significant milestone for a member of the board. I want all of us to take a moment to recognize and honor this individual for their dedication and longstanding commitment to this governing body, this agency, to the riders and the region. Following nearly 9 years of dedicated service on this board, representing residents of Washington County and advocating for all within the Tri-County region, and at the pleasure of 2 governors, Director Bruce Warner's tenure as a Trimet board member and as its president is coming to an end. Today marks his last board meeting. Bruce, you know you're going to be missed. Your leadership has been a mainstay as we have worked through a myriad of challenges. Your years of experience has helped us successfully shape agenda policy and has had a lasting impact on the agency's direction. Your dedication is absolutely paramount. This was recently evident when you stayed on past your term to help the board and the agency through the selection of our new general manager, which created a temporary delay for which we are all grateful. We cannot thank you enough for your expert guidance, consensus building, compassion, and most of all, your friendship. Now you can finally transition off the board and enjoy your retirement to the fullest. Thomas Kim is ready to pick up the torch for District 1, and we will continue the important work you have dedicated nearly a decade to advance. Please, Bruce, accept our sincere thanks and gratitude, and we wish you heartfelt congratulations on this momentous day. We would like to formalize our appreciation of your tenure with a resolution in your honor, which I will read now. Resolution 21-0624 of the Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon, honoring Bruce Warner for his service as a member of the Trimet Board of Directors. Whereas the Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon, better known as Trimet, and its Board of Directors, hereforward called Board, wish to honor Bruce Warner for his dedicated, outstanding service
to Trimet as president and member of the board. Whereas while engaged in a career of transportation, land use management, Bruce Warner gained more than 40 years of experience in public works, public administration, economic development, affordable housing, land use, and transportation. And whereas, as the former executive director for the Portland Development Commission, Bruce Warner was responsible for the overall leadership and management of Portland's redevelopment, housing, and economic development programs and projects. And whereas, as a former director of the Oregon Department of Transportation, director of land use and transportation for Washington County, City of Hillsborough engineer, building official, and as the Chief Operating Officer and Director of Regional Environmental Management at Metro, Bruce Warner acquired a broad range of expertise relating to planning, financing, and implementing environmentally sound transportation projects in the Portland area. Whereas since February 22, 2012, Bruce Warner has served as president of the Trimet Board of Directors, generously contributing and applying his extensive professional, managerial, business, and practical expertise to a broad range of Trimet initiatives, projects, challenges, and community investments, including completion of the Orange Line and Tillicum Bridge, securing years of steady funding through renewal of Trimet's payroll tax, and successful passage of HB 2017. Implementing modern fast pass ticketing, low-income fares, and decriminalization of fare evasion. Maintaining Trimet's AAA bond rating, overseeing the award of the largest disadvantaged business enterprise contract in Oregon's history, ushering in the Division Transit Project and Red Line Improvement Project. And whereas over his 9+ years of service, Bruce Warner has applied his wise and inclusive leadership, open-minded consideration of various perspectives, thoughtful and prudent business acumen, and focused decision-making on behalf of everyone in the Trimet District. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Trimet Board of Directors and Trimet staff hereby express their gratitude to Bruce Warner for his extensive, generous service, consistently performed with wisdom, knowledge, professionalism, dedication, distinction, collaboration, kindness, and good humor. And be it further resolved that a framed copy of the resolution shall be presented to Bruce Warner as an expression of our warm respect and appreciation. So board members, we have a resolution before us, and I'm looking for a motion and a second. Okay, Keith, was that you?
Yes, I'm finally here.
Hi, me
Look who came in out of nowhere for that one.
I wasn't supposed to be here before. I was supposed to be here for this, and I'm happy to be here for this.
Okay, and I'm looking for a second.
Second, Lori.
Lori's a second. And so any individual board members, would you have anything you'd like to add before we vote?
I guess I would like to add that being the one that doesn't speak very much, that it's, I don't know how to really express the opportunity that I've had working with Bruce. I really respect and appreciate his leadership and his sharing and making sure that the board was always aware of what was going on, and his personal commitment, because I know it took more than just, being board chair, and it took a personal commitment as well. And I just appreciate his leadership, and I appreciate his friendship as well, because it's been, certainly I know on his part, it's been a labor of love. And I think he's made board members feel the same commitment and dedication. And it's because he set the example and he set the bar. And we are still trying to reach it. But at the same time, he's been always encouraging, always supporting. And even though he doesn't always maybe agree, he respects your opinion. And that's something that I think is invaluable in a leader, because, he could always say, a leader could a true leader will always respect the opinion of folks that they work with, and he's always given that respect and that guidance and direction. So I just appreciate you so much, Bruce, and thank you very much for your dedication. I hate that you're leaving, and I know you're leaving only officially, because I know that you care about Trimet and you care about this board. And so all I can say is thank you so very much.
Other
Thank you.
board
I'd love to jump in on some of that. Thank you so much, Bruce, for the last 9 years, but is 9 years all you got? We were just getting warmed up. I'm just teasing. It's been a treat for the last 3 years to be able to serve on the same board as you. And the only thing I could say about it all is I wish I would have been able to work with you more and been able to work with you longer, because it's clear that you're walking away with a lot of fantastic institutional knowledge. You've seen this organization through feels like lifetimes, as far as its sense of purpose, its sense of self. What transit agencies do today it seems to be entirely different than what we thought they were doing 9 years ago when you started. So I really appreciate how throughout all of that, you've managed to maintain a friendly face, a good demeanor, a clear moral compass, and a dedication to really helping understand what it takes to make the agency the best it can be for the public. And I really appreciate that. This monster doesn't move quickly, but we're always finding ways to figure out how to move it in the right direction. And you've helped us sort of navigate that with good leadership. And I appreciate the example. I appreciate your time and your commitment once again. And well, I certainly hope that the years ahead continue to bring that much more community benefit and community focus. And so thanks a lot for your service. And we hope to fill those shoes well, and to give you much more to be proud of.
Thank you.
This is Lori. If I could jump in, I just want to echo everything that everyone has said. The board and Trimet have handled so many, or have been confronted with so many challenges, and I just really admire Bruce's deft handling and thoughtful and prudent management of so many issues. And certainly I've called him a number of times since I've been on the board for advice. And I told him the other day, I'm going to keep calling him for advice. So I hope I'm saying that publicly now. So now you have to, you have to continue to advise us, Bruce, although we'll try not to, we'll try to respect your retirement from the board, but I am just so grateful and just really admire how you've managed the job of president, and we will certainly miss you.
Thanks.
So anyone else would like to comment? Laverne.
Thank you, Director Simmons. Director Bruce, I'll just say Bruce, in the short time that I have known you, I've greatly appreciated all the time that you have given to me, the new member of the group, and really wish you, good kudos on as you go forward. Echoing the many, many words of the other directors, I think you're awesome.
Thank you very much. I think you're awesome too, Director Lewis.
Well, and Bruce, I end with letting you know that you've set the bar really high in terms of standards for who serves as president of the board. And I so appreciate everything that everyone said about you. I have said them privately to you, and will, like Lori, seek your advice and counsel, because you've always had this calm, steady way of helping to frame the issues and the solutions, and I'm so grateful for that. You know, you are going to be so missed on the board, but I know that this is a time in your life where you need to devote more time to just fun and pleasure, and I know you still have other community obligations, so you won't just disappear from the community, but maybe this will be a lighter load by not being the board president and on the Trimet board. I know you'll follow us and see what we're doing, so but thank you, Bruce, so much. So if there are no more comments, are we ready for a vote? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. And again, thanks, Bruce.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You know, I guess since you've said these things, I need to take a couple moments and just say a few things if I can. I'm sorry, somebody else trying to say something?
No.
Okay. So, you know, I don't want to say much since I'll probably get choked up and not make any sense. And that's when I know you all be saying to yourself, so what's changed, right? I just want all of you to know, the board and the staff, how humbled and proud I am to have served on this board with all of you and work with all of you. And frankly, all the other board members with whom I had the pleasure to work over the last few years. And I want to just mention them because I think it's important. You know, my predecessor, Rick Van Beveren from Washington County, was a class guy who spent a lot of time on this, on Trimet. Steve Clark, Tiffany Schweitzer, the late Dr. T. Allen Bethel, who I missed greatly, Joe Esmond, Craig Prosser, and then of course, the guy who came on the board the same time as I did, Travis Stovall. And, you know, he's now the mayor of Gresham. And you know, I may have missed somebody there, but I just, you folks all need to be recognized for the hard work and effort that they put on this Trimet board. And as you just know, I found out, I've worked in transportation most of my career, but you probably don't know I've worked with Trimet, many general managers and many boards on projects big and small over those years. And I want you to know that I believe you, and I'm talking about the board, who's volunteered to serve, are critical to Trimet's success. And I want to thank you all publicly for your service and your hard work. You're here because, as you just said, we all believe in public transit and its role in helping provide needed transportation services for economic opportunity, recreation, work, and just getting to where we need to go. And as you know too well, your service is not without controversy or public disagreement. And however, I passionately believe in this state's reliance on appointed commissions to help guide policies and priorities of agencies and special districts like Trimet. And for the new board members, you're going to hear from some interest groups that this board should be an elected body. And I want to say I think that would be a mistake. You're here because of your known qualifications, your expertise, your relationships with the community you serve, and frankly, just what you bring to this board. And I've always been impressed by the people who have been selected to serve on the Trimet board and other boards throughout the state. And I'm very impressed, and for all of you who are willing to take on this task for nothing more than a free transit pass. And people don't realize that's the limit of our remuneration. So over the last 9.5 years, this board and prior boards have dealt with many tough issues, have made thoughtful and what I would consider sometimes brave decisions on policies, budgets, and services And I could list all of these decisions. You mentioned some of them in that resolution, and thank you for that. But it's the board's responsibility, and it wasn't just it was the full board that did those things. And if it's not obvious to you guys yet, you will be confronting several new challenges in the next few years. Recovering ridership, safety and security, just funding, I think, of how you do transportation, and design of a new system that really meet the new economic and land use models that I think the COVID has put on us is going to be a challenge. But I know you're up to the challenge, and so I want you to know you may see me providing testimony at your public forum at one of your public meetings sometimes in the future. And as you said, please feel free to call me anytime. What I said to Lori was just remember you get what you pay for. And so it's pretty cheap advice, but I will give you as best advice I can. And I do want to continue to be helpful and support the board and the Trimet staff. Your success is unbelievably important for our future. And so I want to thank all of you. So thanks again. And I appreciate the recognition today. And it has been a very quick 9.5 years. So with that, we're going to go back to our regular agenda. Mr. General Manager, I think it's time for the board or for the General Manager's report.
Okay, thank you, President Warner. I would like to say also, as coming on and being selected by the board, I want to just thank you for your leadership and your commitment and dedication to Trimet, to our region, to our customers. I know over the last 12 months, you have led us through the board and the organization in the uncertain period of time with COVID, the wildfires, all of the smoke, all of our projects that we've taken on. So I want to just say thank you for your leadership. I really appreciate that, and appreciate everything that you've provided to us. So thank you for that. So I want to start off by saying good morning to all of you, members of the board, President Warner. Thank you all for being here today. I want to start off this morning sharing some timely information to you in response to our COVID-19 pandemic, our May Ridership Report, and then I want to touch bases on a partnership with the City of Portland about providing free rides over the 4th of July weekend. I will share efforts to immediately reduce the Trimet's carbon footprint and review with you our quarterly performance report. And then finally, recognizing and celebrating this year's Operators of the Year. So I'll start off by beginning with an update on COVID. Like everyone else, we are watching the state's vaccination rate. I watched it last night. We're at about 68.8%. Once the state vaccination rate reaches 70%, which may be the days away, Governor Brown has said that she will lift most of our restrictions that's here. So we expect that will mean for Trimet ending the capacity limits on our buses and on our trains and removing requirements from social distancing. However, we will need to wait and see on the outcome. But it's also important to note again that masks are and will be required on our buses and trains, and also at what's identified as transportation hubs per the TSA. And a transportation hub includes our transit centers and our rail stations. It also includes our private facilities, such as our operating and maintenance facilities and our administrative headquarters. So we are easing some of the mask restrictions for our employees currently, and among them are our MAX light rail operators along in the cab of the light rail vehicle, and also our bus operators along on the bus. That's not at a transportation hub. They could remove their masks. So like much of the state of Oregon and much of the country, we feel that we're gradually getting back to life as we once knew it. Although we do have to continue some precaution to keep each other safe. And we will continue to offer those free masks on board for anyone that needs them. Since the pandemic began, Trimet has distributed approximately 6 million masks. And I would like to just personally thank all of our employees, especially those on the front line and mission critical staff, by just coming into work and ensuring our customers and our personnel are supported. You have really helped our customers get where they need to go safely. And I can also speak from all of us that our employees have inspired us with their strength and resiliency and the commitment to come in every day and make sure that they keep our region moving. As I transition over to the May 2021 Ridership Report, want to let you know that for the month of May, we provided more than 3.57 million rides. Our weekly system ridership nearly increased about 33% from May of 2020. So I want to reference that, and then I'm going to reference pre-COVID, which is May of 2019. Yet our May ridership was still down more than 57% from when you compare May 2019 or the pre-pandemic levels to today. On our bus, ridership was down about 55% from May of 2019. And then our max ridership is down about 65%. West is down as well, currently at 76%. Over the month of May, we had our 33rd Curves Max Improvement Project. It was a 9-day project, and we replaced almost 2,600 feet of rail during that month. And the key here is that this is going to boost overall reliability of our system, and also it's going to improve the riding experience for our riders. So we are looking at it, and we're implementing marketing strategies really to look at how we recover ridership and move forward. So next, I have an exciting announcement for the 4th of July holiday weekend. Trimet, as well as the Portland streetcar, we will not be collecting fares for July 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And this means that people can ride our buses, our MAX vehicles, and our Lyft Paratransit vehicles for free during the holiday weekend. We are working in partnership alongside of the city of Portland to encourage people to get back out and enjoy our community. And also we're going to do this across the region. So we are reporting this, we are promoting this across our district and all 3 counties. So not only here in Portland, but again, all 3 counties that we are moving forward with this promotional over the holiday weekend. Now, I should mention that there may be capacity limits on board our buses, but that's something that we want you to make sure that you keep an eye out as we move through this planning here. Okay, so as I transition to talk a little bit about the 100% renewable energy, I want to briefly touch on this. This is something that I shared last week at our special board meeting. As of June 1st, Trimet has taken a step that immediately reduces our carbon footprint by more than 25%. We've moved to an all renewable electricity to power our MAX system and then all of our Trimet owned facilities, as well as our electric buses. And by supporting renewable energy, we expect to avoid more than 54 million pounds of greenhouse gas emissions in just 1 year's time. And if you put that in perspective, that's like taking more than 5,300 cars off the road. I really appreciate PGE, Pacific Power, and our Climate Solutions for joining me last week as I made this important announcement. And I will also be announcing another step very soon in reducing our carbon dioxide emissions, because Trimet is part of the solution in addressing climate change here in our region. Now I would like to just stop and ask Trimet's Manager of Service Performance and Analysis, Miles Crumley, to present to you very briefly our community and our quarterly performance report. Miles.
Good morning, Trimet Board.
Miles, would you like to share the slides, or do you want me to run through the ones I have on the PDF?
If you can run through the PDF, that would be great, please.
Okay.
Not always this blurry, it's just the bus behind me is zooming. Okay, good morning, Trimet Board. I'm here to present the first quarter 2021 quarterly performance report at Trimet. This is covering the months of January, February, and March. Just to bring us up to speed, during this period, we still, previous statistics looked at the pandemic, civil unrest, wildfires, and our sustained loss of ridership right around 60%. Additionally, in February, there was a big snow and ice storm here in the Portland metro region, which also had an impact on some of our indicators. Next slide, please. West on-time, bus, max, and West on-time performance is presented here. Bus on-time performance was up during the January, February, and March period by about 3.2%. Max and West, we did see a slight decrease in percentage points between last year this time and our current quarter that we're discussing. We are observing that there is increased traffic out on the roadways. So this is going to have an impact not only on how our bus service operates, but also on the rail service. Additionally, the weather event during February also had an impact on our overall on-time performance. Next slide, please. Bus fixed route operator complaints. Again, as I said, when I presented this last time, the change between last year and where we are now, I would consider this flat. We did have an increase during the pandemic related to some policies that we put out related to COVID. However, what we're seeing is that the number of complaints overall is starting to normalize to where they were pre-pandemic. Max operator complaints, we are starting to see a decrease in operator complaints, just slightly. Again, with more riders starting to come back and us returning to normal service, we do expect that this number should begin to flatten out over a period of time. Next slide. Rail rule violations. We did see a slight uptick between not only between Q4 2020 and Q1 2021, but also between Q1 2020 as well. Rail, which is actually not necessarily a bad thing, we are having more rail operators begin to actually work on the rail side. And so with new people, we do see a slight uptick in rail rule violations, but we do expect this to flatten out over time. Next slide, please. Lyft miles between road calls has seen a sharp decrease between last year, 2020, and Q1 2021. Lyft, again, they're providing a different type of service because of the pandemic, and some of the high drivers in low mean distance between failure is related to the vehicle type. The older vehicles that Lyft uses have more capacity available to them. They also tend to be, because they're older, not as reliable. So in order for us to meet the distancing requirements, we're running these vehicles. Bus fixed route lost service, we did see a slight improvement between last year, 2020, and Q1 2021. We did do some comparison to some peers, and we expect mean distance between failure to be somewhere between 10 and 12,000 miles. The number being at 11,000 is perfectly right on target with what we would expect for bus mean distance between failures. Max mean distance between failure, we did see a decrease in mean distance between failure on the max side. The Rail Equipment Maintenance Department has been working very diligently to solve some propulsion issues that we were having in previous quarters. Now we're also beginning to chase down some issues with the friction brakes, some car body issues, and with the communication system. So this number may bounce around over the next couple of quarters. Fixed route bus collisions, we did see an increase. Overall, things are starting to return back to how they were pre-pandemic. And so while the number presented in 2020 was a lot higher than it was in 2021, The increase that we are seeing is related to the increased traffic on the roadways. Same thing with max light rail collisions. Again, there aren't as many max light rail collisions based on the amount of miles, and so small changes or small increases in collisions will make this number seem a lot bigger than it really is. Again, we are seeing an upward trend. It's related back to the increase in just car traffic on the roadways. That's it. Are there any questions?
Sam, do you want to see if the board has any questions at this time, or you want to keep going?
Let me keep going, and then what we'll do, President Warner will come back, and if the board has any questions, we'll be able to address them.
Okay.
So Miles, thank you very much. Really appreciate all your work. I know that you and Brett and Nathan has done really good work there. Also want to just thank our transportation and maintenance departments for coming in. And President Warner and board, I really want to also call a shout out to our Trimet ticket office personnel. They come to work every day and they're kind of behind the scenes. And I had the opportunity to go down and meet with them. And I just want to say, you know, what a great group of folks that's really dedicated to our mission. And they have been here every single day over this last 12 months. So want to thank them and very much. Want to move into the best part of the update this morning and would like to recognize some of our Trimet employees who are the best of the best that's out there. Late last month, I had the honor of attending a virtual ceremony honoring our 2021 Operators of the Year. Our operators are the heart and soul of Trimet, and they really kept our service rolling through the extraordinary times that we had over the last 12 months. But I want to say to all operators that really thank you for your hard work, your dedication, the perseverance. Really want to just thank you for helping our riders go about their lives and you operating with safety and courtesy at the core of what you do. A big part of the reason Trimet is considered one of the best transit agencies in the country is because of you, and you really make us proud every single day. So among those receiving special recognitions today are those Operators of the Year. These are the operators who demonstrate superior safety, customer service, and job performance. And they are nominated throughout the year, and the winners are really selected by a vote of their peers. So board, please join me in congratulating our Bus Operator of the Year, Tim Maxey, our mini run or part-time Bus Operator of the Year, Herbert Lockett, and our Rail Operator of the Year, Jonathan Ford. They are all with us here today, and I would like to just start off with each one of them to say a few words about what this honor means to you. So let's start off with Operator Maxey.
Means a lot to me to represent all of the operators here at Trimet. I've met with a lot of operators at all garages because I've worked at all garages, so it's good to represent everyone.
Well, congratulations, sir, to you. Really appreciate what you've done for us. So I'll move on, and I will introduce Operator Lockett. How about you? What does this mean for you?
Sam, I do not see Operator Lockett in the list.
Okay, well, we'll congratulate him here at the end. Let's move on to Operator Horde. How about you?
Yes. I would just like to thank all my fellow employees. I'm just very thankful for this honor and also for this job. And I realized through this past year that things have been difficult and there's always room for improvement, and I'm going to continue to improve this job. So thank you.
Again, thank you all for your hard work, for your dedication, and just congratulations. You've earned this. I really appreciate you. So, Director Warner, I'll pause here and
Yeah,
find out.
we have 3 resolutions that were included in your virtual packet. And I would like us to take action on those resolutions, and I believe they could all be done as one motion. But the first resolution is Resolution 21-06-25, which is recognizing Tim Maxey as Trimet's 2021 Bus Operator of the Year. And then Resolution 21-06-26, which is recognizing and commending Herbert Lockett as Trimet's 2021 Mini Run Operator of the Year. And then finally, Resolution 21-06-27, which is commending Jonathan Horde as Trimet's 2021 Rail Operator of the Year. And I just want to say thank you to everybody also. And is there a motion to approve those 3 resolutions?
So moved, Linda.
Okay.
Second, Keith.
All right. Any discussion by the board?
This is Lori. I just want to say thank you. This is, in the time I've been on the board, this is one of my favorite things, is getting to meet the operators of the year. And I'm just really sorry we can't meet you in person and shake your hands. And thank you for all that you do. You please know you're the face of TriMet to the community, and that's just so important. And I know sometimes the board members have bragged about their experiences driving buses. I've never driven a bus. And as I've said in the past, we're all better off because I have never driven a bus. But please know I am just so grateful for all of your hard work and all of your accomplishments.
Well said, Director Ballen. Anybody else?
No,
All right.
I just
Go
want
ahead,
to echo the
Ozzy.
sentiments. Thank you so much for your dedication, your service. You are clearly the backbone and the front line of the way the public feels and experiences this service. So thank you so much for the work you do, and I wish we could shake your hand.
I just want to say thank you to all 3 of you for this public service. You are the people that get the job done and provide the service for everybody that they expect. And we appreciate and want to thank you, especially over this last year. It's been a tough year for everybody. And again, thanks. So with that, I'm going to call for a vote on the motion.
President Warner, if I could,
Yes.
please.
Please.
And I just want to echo the previous comments of the directors that thank you so very much. And as Director Bauman said, you are the face of TriMet. That's what people see every day. And you represent us so very, very well, above and beyond your regular duties as an employee. So thank you very much.
All right. Did I miss any board member who wanted to say anything? I didn't mean to move too fast there. Okay, hearing no more, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor of the motion to approve these 3 resolutions, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. And I assume General Manager Tasu that these folks will get a copy of these resolutions when they're signed. So
Absolutely, President Warner. We'll get them all to the documentation.
great. And thank you again for your service. It's greatly appreciated. Sam, why don't you continue on if you've got something more?
Yes, just one other thing. Wanted to let all of our operators thank you. Thank you for being here with us this morning. President Warner wanted to go back to the public comment that was made earlier by one of the individuals about our Region 1 and Region 2 Lyft Paratransit. So as I come into office and kind of get settled into the position, we are assessing our paratransit ridership currently, and we will add capacity when we need it. I do have our Director of Paratransit, Margot Moore, and her manager, Eileen, that's on, and I wanted to just go to them if there's anything else that I've missed here that you would like to add. Margot?
Eileen here.
Go ahead, Eileen.
I'm just a brief note that our contract with First Transit, which is our current contractor, is a human resource contract. So we really look to them to determine what staffing levels need to be to make service for us. And we haven't seen that increase in ridership in order to provide efficient service. So we're continuing to work with our contractors to ensure that they are staffing appropriately. And we will continue, that contract is ending. So if the board passes the resolution for the new contractor today, we will work steadfastly with that contractor to ensure adequate staffing.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And with that, President Warner, that concludes my report this morning.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, with that, we're going to move on then to our consent agenda. And I think this is the meatiest consent agenda we've ever seen. I think they just wanted me to do this on my last meeting, I think. So what I see is we have, if my math is right, there's 6 items on the consent agenda. And the items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and may be approved by the board in one blanket motion. However, any board member may remove an item from the consent portion of the agenda for discussion or questions by requesting such prior to the consideration of this portion of the agenda. And so I'll point out for anybody watching it, what you see here is we have the approval of the board meeting minutes for May 26th. We have a resolution which is authorizing additional contract authority for Parametrics Inc. for design services as part of the Max Red Line extension and reliability improvements project. We have a resolution which is authorizing the exercise of options to a contract with Siemens Mobility for the purchase of additional light rail vehicles for the Max Red Line extension and reliability project. And then a resolution authorizing a modification to a contract with AECOM Technical Services for construction management and safety/security services for the Division Transit project. A resolution authorizing a contract modification with NAHA, that's how it's pronounced, for specialized staff augmentation services. And then finally, a resolution authorizing a modification of a contract with Stellar J Corporation for Ruby Junction shop modifications projects. So there's a lot there. So is there any item on the consent agenda that a board member would like to have removed for individual consideration or has questions that we might be able to answer before motions made on to approve the consent agenda? Yes, Director Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, President Warner. Yes, I had a question, just procedural really, for the sake of the board and the public. With so many resolutions on the agenda that are not on the consent agenda, it looks to me like there was some discernment made as to what resolutions would appear on the consent agenda and which were not. And it looks like for the most part they are extensions of existing contracts of other service types. Could General Manager Dessou, could you just please articulate what it was that discerned what would go on the consent agenda versus what would not for today's meeting?
Yes, I want to bring in very quickly General Counsel because we were having conversation. So is General Counsel Shelley, are you there to talk through?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam. And thanks for the question, Director Gonzalez, because we would like to clarify, yes, that's exactly what happened. So historically, we've usually, pre-pandemic, put routine modifications to contracts on our consent agenda so that the board doesn't have to take up a lot of time revisiting those. We're happy to answer any questions about any of those, but that was the distinction. So what you're seeing here are contracts that are being authorized to exercise options or modify of an existing contract that the board has already acted on at a prior board meeting. And then the resolutions that have gone on the regular resolution agenda are those that are first time coming before the board. So thank you. Thank you.
So did you get your question answered?
Oh, yes, I did. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other items any member of the board would like to have answered about an item on a consent agenda or have pulled? Well, hearing none then, is there a resolution to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved, Linda.
Is there a second?
Second, Laverne.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda items or that motion? Hearing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And I got a note from Director Way who said she'll be here about 10:30. So I've got to go from 10:30 to 11:30 is when I would like to make sure we do the resolution regarding adopting an employment contract with our new general manager. So with that, I'd like to then, if I could, just go down to the second resolution under the resolutions portion of the agenda, which is Resolution 21-06-34, which is adopting the fiscal year 2022 annual budget and appropriated funds. Mr. General Manager, I turn it over to you or Dee to discuss this item.
So thanks, President Warner. I'll start off. So members of the board, we need to adopt our fiscal year 2022 annual budget. The budget is based around priorities that staff work with the board to develop. Those priorities are ridership and recovery strategies, the reimagined safety and security, added value to customers across the region, the implementation of our IT strategic plan, enhancing equity for employees, and then resource management, financial resilience, and also our capital programs. So we have conducted outreach with the community and developed a budget, included public listening sessions in English and in Spanish. We conducted public hearings and solicited feedback online as well as by phone. The budget considers the effects of COVID-19 pandemic and reductions in fare revenue and payroll taxes. Since the board approved the FY22 budget, our finance and budgeting team have made some additional adjustments. And this as the financial picture for next fiscal year came into closer view. Among those adjustments, I would like to just call out a few. And a positive sign, revenue projected from payroll taxes has increased. More help from the federal government is expected, with nearly $150 million in COVID-19 related to grant funds available. And then finally, our passenger fare revenue has been reduced based on the most current projections. Some adjustments that were made to account for the new working and wage agreement between Trimet and the ATU 757. This is an agreement that was overwhelmingly approved by Trimet's union employees who voted on it. It included a wage increase, maintenance of health benefits, and an increase in short-term disability benefits, among other agreements. The adopted budget reflects the increases required by the agreement. It is important also to point out that the budget still does not include a fare increase for this fiscal year. The 9th straight year adult fare has not gone up. The total value of the budget, including operations, capital, operating projects, and other non-operating expenses, contingency and fund balance is $1.9 billion. The adopted budget must be in place by July 1st to allow spending in the new fiscal year. Your approval is recommended. With me today is Executive Director Dee Brookshire and also Director Nancy Young-Oliver to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. So with that in mind, I think what you just heard is the board has the authority and the responsibility to consider approval of Trimet's budget for next fiscal year because they can't operate after July 1st without us adopting a budget this month. And I think we've had a chance to review this document in a lot of detail over the past few months. And again, it has changed based on some of the refinements of the revenues and expenditures, as you pointed out. I would just ask if Director D. Brooks or Nancy Young have any questions or any comments, further comments, before I ask the board for a motion, and then we can see if they have any further questions. So Dee, Nancy, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, thank you, President Warner. We just wanted to let you know that as we discussed this morning in the Finance and Audit Committee, the changes have been vetted thoroughly, and we believe this is a fair representation of what we'll need going forward.
Thank you. Why don't we get a motion on the table? Is there a motion to approve this resolution, which would approve our budget?
So moved.
Your motion, is there a second?
Second,
Lori,
Linda.
second.
I'll give that second to Lori. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion, further discussion on the budget or this motion by the board? I'm hearing none. I'm then going to call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-06-34, which is adopting the fiscal year 2022 annual budget and appropriate funds, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next resolution, which is Resolution 21-06-35, which is authorizing a contract modification with Stacy and Whitbeck, Inc. For construction manager / general contractor services for the Max Red Line Extension and Reliability Improvement Project. Mr. General Manager, you have a staff report on this?
Thank you, President Warner, board. The purpose of this resolution is to request a modification to the contract with Stacy and Whitbeck for construction manager, general contractor service for the Max Red Line Reliability Improvements Project. Pre-construction services are already in progress. However, the final agreement on the Federal Transit Administration on project value was postponed until the total contract price is negotiated with the contractor. The total additional contract authority requested today is $152 million. This accounts for the pre-construction services, construction services, and the change order allowances for the project. It is included in the FY22 through FY24 capital program budget. Stacy and Whitbeck workforce is 48% minority, 8% female. The company has committed to using DBE firms for approximately 20% of the work. Your approval of this resolution is recommended. We have with us today Executive Director Steve Witter and Paige to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Why don't we see if we can get a motion on the table and get it seconded, and we'll ask for any questions by the board. So is there a motion to approve Resolution 21-06-35?
So moved, Linda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was that you, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. With that, we have a motion and a second. So I suspect there may be some questions on this. Is there questions of or comments that Director Witter would like to make, or comments and questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a question. I understand a contract modification was expected here as part of the process of this project as we resolved some of the details of the project as well as the federal funding. But as far as the modification is concerned, can you speak to whether this modification was as expected? Has the market significantly changed from earlier expectations? Just to get a sense of kind of where we landed.
Director Gonzalez, thank you for your question. I really wanted to take this opportunity to introduce and thank Paige Schloop, our project director, for her leadership on getting us to this point. I don't know, Paige, would you like to address that, or would you like me to address that? I'm happy either way.
Either way here. So I'm wondering if Director Gonzalez, if your question is going towards COVID-19 and any of that, how that may have impacted the economy and the construction costs, or if it's
Certainly, I'm well aware of how construction costs have escalated in other markets. The affordable housing market's been hit hard by the cost in lumber, but I wonder if this project has been similarly impacted because of market forces. I know COVID-19 was in part to blame for the lumber part. Have we seen similar things? Have you seen cost escalations? Are we way off where we thought we would be a year ago?
Yeah, I think that, so as part of this project, we did do a market study in advance of our negotiations to kind of get a sense and some backup information to understand that. And you're right, a lot of things are going up, and lumber is one of those. Fortunately, we're not a lumber heavy project, but I feel like we're lucky in that we got in the front end of it before things were really starting to take off. I will be saying in the last month or two, there's been some nail biting about steel pricings, just jumping. And so we're very pleased to be able to get this in place at the time we have and get that purchase going for the steel. Other items were PVC, plastics, and concrete, weirdly enough. So basically a lot of stuff is going up, but we're very happy that we're getting in before it really starts cranking up and getting those prices locked in. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Oh, we have you on mute.
I was talking to myself, I see. No, thank you. That helps, getting some context on how the market is impacting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions by the board? I'm hearing none. Then is the board ready to take action on this? I'm going to call a question. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution 21-06-35, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. With that, I see Director Way has made it onto our meetings. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'd like to go back to the very first resolution, which is resolution 21-06-33, which is adopting the employment agreement negotiated by the board president for the general manager. And I have the pleasure of introducing this resolution before the board this morning. Members of the board, this resolution before you this morning requests approval of the compensation terms and conditions of the employment agreement negotiated with Trimet's new general manager, Sam DeSue Jr. This is a necessary action to move the formal hiring process forward and officially make him our general manager. The negotiated agreement, I want anybody listening to understand that this is within the national range of salary and benefits for transit organization chief executives, and it's consistent with the salary and benefits authorized by the board with resolution 21-06-22, which was approved at our special meeting last week, and meets Trimet's compensation practices and policies. It provides salary and benefits package that I believe to be attractive to the new general manager, and I think a benefit to Trimet. I recommend your approval of this resolution, and I've tried to I've talked with all of you about the specifics of it over the last few days. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But let's start. Is there a motion to approve resolution 21-06-33?
So moved.
Second.
Second, was that Linda?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion or questions on this resolution or the contract? I think everybody's smiling. I like this. All right, hearing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution 21-06-33, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. And congratulations, Sam, on being officially our new general manager. We're looking forward to working with you, and I'll look forward to working with you from the outside. So again, Sam, if you want to say anything, you can now, but I think you've said it before, but some people may not have heard you before, and I just thought I'd give you this opportunity to say hello to anybody who might be listening today.
Yeah, thank you, President Warner, board members. I am absolutely honored to be selected as your next general manager to serve and lead Trimet, our employees, our customers, and our riders into the future. And I look forward to working with our hardworking, dedicated employees, working side by side with them, our communities, our regional partners, to really move us forward into the future. I have hit the ground running on some of our priorities that I've talked about in the past, really getting into the community and reconnecting and recovering from this pandemic, to the reimagining work, to also making financial responsible decisions to keep our system moving. So we must continue to prepare ourselves for this historic infrastructure bill that's coming out, and be ready to move. And to you, President Warner, and soon to be President Simmons, and all board directors, I really look forward to working with all of you every day to guide Trimet through this new transition and also into the future. I can't help but to be nothing but optimistic here for what we can and achieve together. So thank you very much.
You're entirely welcome. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on then to the next resolution, which is resolution 21-06-36, which is authorizing a contract with LYT for next generation transit signal priority, TSP, as they call it, I guess, implementation services. Mr. General Manager.
Okay, let me unmute the phone here. This next resolution before you today marks an exciting advancement in our efforts to speed up buses. This will make transit not only faster and more reliable, but also more attractive option than just sitting in traffic in a personal vehicle. It requests authorization for a contract with LYT for the next generation transit signal priority implementation service. This is a key technology for improving the reliability and really helping to reduce emissions as well. The transit signal priority is also a key component of high frequency service. And we'll see that when we look at our BRT line that we're putting out on Division. A pilot project of next generation transit signal priority will roll out as part of our Division Transit project. And this is a high-tech, complex system that requires adaptability and scalability. For this contract, Trimet issued a request for proposal, and of the 4 responses proposal, a source evaluation committee determined that LYT to be the most qualified. The pilot project I mentioned will come at a cost of about $791,000. And if successful, Trimet may exercise an option to expand next generation transit signal priority throughout the entire service area. This would bring the total contract value to approximately $2.5 million over the anticipated 10-year life of the project. The pilot project is included in Trimet's IT budget for FY22, and LYT has a total workforce of 10, 40% of whom are minorities. The company has set a goal of 12% DBE participation. Your approval of the resolution is recommended. So with me today to answer any questions from the board, is our CIO, Ethan Benetton, and also our Director of Intelligent Transportation, AJ O'Connor.
Nick, do we want to get a motion on the floor first? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 21-06-36?
So moved.
Oh, second.
Motion.
Second. I'll second.
Thank you, Director Edwards.
Okay, I missed that, but I assume that Kimberly has, who made the motion and seconded that. So I suspect there may be some questions. Are the questions for Sam or the staff?
I had a question, Director Warner. In regards to, I guess my greatest concern is in light of the hacking that's been going on, the certain systems that rely on internet capacity that have been compromised. And I guess my question would be, what kind of safeguards do we have that are going to be incorporated into this system to certainly avoid those folks that could take away from our system and hijack our system and hold us hostage?
Good question. Sam, you're muted, I think.
Thanks, Director Edwards. I'm going to just bring our CIO directly in, and he can answer that question directly. Ethan?
Thank you so much, Sam. Director Edwards, that's an excellent question, and I'm actually going to hand it over to Director of our Intelligent Transportation Systems, AJ O'Connor, because he's much closer to this than I am. But I will preface it by just saying it's a very serious concern, and he has a very good answer. So AJ, would you be willing to address that from here?
Sure. So the first answer is that Trimet will be mostly providing data into this system, and that's going to be, in other words, Trimet's risk is lower than some of our regional partners. The system has been designed, though, from the ground up with security in mind, and the current protocols, communication protocols that are used in the traffic signal world to communicate to your signal system, mostly through cities and counties, is basically unencrypted. So it's not a very secure protocol. And the communication with LYT, which is, they actually pronounce it light, is encrypted traffic. So we're actually, with this system, we'll be improving the cybersecurity stance than what currently happens now when traffic signals are communicated with. The light system will be communicating with our regional traffic partners networks. So in the case of Division, this is primarily the City of Portland. And Light, Trimet, and the City of Portland and the Bureau of Technology Services at the City of Portland are working out exactly how to install the light hardware that's needed in their traffic management center and how to do that securely. But I can tell you that Light designed this very much with cybersecurity in mind. So we feel the risk is exceedingly low. And like I said, we're actually improving the cybersecurity standpoint of the communication actually going to those traffic controllers.
Thank you very much. Will there be periodic changes as well to add to that security?
Yes, there is. In fact, one of the discussions that we had with some of our regional traffic partners, the way that the initial proposal was for an actual hardware device from Light to be installed in the traffic centers, data centers. And one of the discussions underway with Light and our partners is virtualizing that so that the hardware is not required and that the software will just run on a, say, City of Portland's server, for example. And we're going to be making that an option as we roll this out with our other regional traffic partners, and there are some that believe that that makes it even more secure. So yes, they're constantly evolving and trying to improve cybersecurity whenever possible.
Thank you.
I've got a question.
Please.
I'm not sure where's best to answer this one, but I'm just going to ask anyway because I know that this is a little bit esoteric for our riders and our users, and I understand this will help cybersecurity, but there's also this next gen component to the technology. So aside from improving the security of systems, and I'm assuming that will make it a more reliable system for users, what does this do now, or what does this enable us to do in the future, in the short term, that will affect riders? Aside from bells and whistles, I'm just wondering, why are we doing this, and what will riders feel? When will riders potentially feel something from this? As a sort of a message to riders as why we're engaging in these technologies.
So what riders will hopefully feel, or not feel, I guess is the way, is that their bus will be moving more quickly through intersections. They won't notice that they're stopping at lights and waiting for traffic. It should be in other words, I would rephrase your question. They should feel less. It should be a more seamless operation as they're moving through our region. The next gen part of this that you're referring to really opens up a whole world of possibilities once we've rolled this system out sort of region wide. The system will be able to factor in so many more inputs in terms of when and how to request a signal priority. And what that means, I guess we should define that. What that means is either extending a green or shortening a red cycle so that the bus doesn't have to stop. It can just keep moving through traffic. And what's really amazing is other partners such as city fire departments or police departments or Tualatin Valley Fire can use this system as well. And we have the potential to have a really regional signal priority system that allows us to analyze how traffic is moving through all the different corridors. This system is the other next generation portion of this, is the amount of data that we're going to be able to receive from the system is pretty stunning compared to what we have right now. What we have right now is the bus has to come up and it has to be within line of sight of a traffic light where an infrared emitter can detect the bus, essentially. We're making a giant leap forward in terms of when the traffic signal system knows a bus needs help. And that is where our riders should really notice the difference. What they should notice is that they're not having to stop as frequently and the bus is just moving along and getting them to their destination on time, and that we should have less frequent stops. I hope that answered your question.
If I may, I might be able to add a point from the lay perspective, and I'll invite AJ to correct me if I misspeak. But I believe that the potential exists with this new system for the bus to communicate with the traffic signaling system information such as, is it behind or ahead of schedule? What is the headway? Our system can tell something about what the distance is between buses on the system, what the loading is on the bus. And it provides this centralized smart system the ability to help buses move around in ways that is, so not only will it smooth out the ride, but it'll actually optimize for the schedule, optimize the gaps between the buses. Even people waiting at a bus stop will know better because we're getting smarter about predicting when buses get to stops and how they're dealing with traffic. So just going to smooth out all of that system. I hope I got that right, AJ.
Yes.
I really appreciate you bringing that context, because I think riders today are accustomed to a little bit more of a sophisticated experience with transit options. When you can look at a map and it tells you how many blocks away the nearest e-scooter is and things like that, it sounds to me like this system steps our bus and train network closer to where folks are used to experiencing mobility options. And I see some nods. I appreciate that, and I want to lean into that a little more because I want to emphasize that, you know, as we've discussed at the board level strategically, you know, TriMet is in the business of helping mobility, and part of that is knowing how to be a good partner in managing congestion and managing the use of right-of-ways. And as we really lean into how TriMet helps to make sure that mobility is serving the public well, no matter whether we own the vehicle or somebody else does, these sorts of systems that talk to one another, that talk to intersections, that talk to other vehicle types, are essential for TriMet to be able to really provide that kind of oversight, to not only look at the data, but to be able to help make sure that the data is telling us what we need to know, that the public is being served. And I think as we move forward as an agency, it's these sorts of systems that we're just beginning to scratch the surface of how they're going to help us be a robust central repository for all mobility options and how it's going to serve the public. So I don't want to misspeak or you know, show too much of what overpromise here, but I see this a step towards that direction, without really putting it all out there right now, but knowing that it will enable us to be that agency we've talked about for a while.
No, you're Director Gonzalez, you're absolutely right. This is a foundation to build on what you were just describing in division and the BRT. We've referred to it as a pilot, but it's really where we're going to test the system, put it in place, fine tune it, and start that work. And then you're absolutely right. Light rail, piloting light rail next in several locations is something we're envisioning. And then we envision rolling out the system, coordinating it with our ETC corridors and frequent bus routes. So you're absolutely right. This is a foundation stone or a keystone of that mobility future.
Well, thanks a lot for bringing this, and it sounds like we found a good partner that's going to help us move this forward.
Other questions or discussion by the board? I'm not hearing or seeing any. So with that, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-06-36, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next resolution, which is Resolution 21-06-37, which is authorizing a contract with Simmons Machine Tool Corporation, known as Simmons, for the purchase and installation of wheel lathe and axle press machines. And we'll see if our president-elect has a conflict on this one. Mr.
No,
General Manager.
I was just going to say, I don't even know who these people are, but when I looked at it, I went, huh, that's interesting.
Mr. General Manager, you have any comments on this or staff on this?
Absolutely. Appreciate it, President Warner, members of the board. The purpose of this resolution before you is to authorize the purchase of a critical piece of maintenance equipment for our light rail vehicles. They are known as wheel lathe and an axle press machine. The two we have at Ruby Junction Maintenance Facility is almost 30 years old. They can no longer support the repair or the replacement of components necessary for the state of good repair of our light rail fleet. We are working closely with an equipment design team to develop the best plan to replace both of these machines. After an exhaustive review of alternatives, Simmons Machine Tool Corporation was selected for a sole source contract This is in particular because Simmons, the company, is currently the only company that manufactures the machines that Trimet uses. So in selecting Simmons, Trimet will reduce our costs by hundreds of thousands of dollars that would otherwise be incurred due to the retrofits and then the training that's required with an alternate vendor. The total cost of this project is $4.67 million. This includes installation, spare parts, and a 20% change order allowance. So this cost is included in our FY22 capital improvement program as part of the upgrades and improvements taking place at our Ruby Junction facility. Simmons is a well-established company with a good reputation for this work. They have 175 employees, 7.5% of whom identified as minority and 10% as female. Simmons will manufacture the machines and then use subcontractors for the installation. So this morning, I recommend your approval of this resolution. And with me today is our Rail Equipment Maintenance Director, Dan Blair. He's here if you have any technical questions about either of the machines. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sam. Why don't we get a resolution or a motion on the table on this resolution? Is there a motion to approve resolution 21-06-37?
So moved, this is Lori.
And a second was who?
Keith.
Keith, thank you very much. All right, so we may have some questions here. Do you have questions for Sam or the staff on this one? I have seen this piece of equipment in operation. It's pretty amazing. So it's critical that we have this piece of equipment. So questions?
My only question is typically, you know, we encourage under the diversity piece, we encourage our contractors, our vendors to use subcontractors that are qualify under DBE if they're available. And that has not been mentioned here, and so I just wanted to ask that question. Has that been suggested or encouraged to the contractors to use as their subcontractors that are going to be doing the installations, that they are DBE employers?
Yeah, thanks, Director Edwards. Let me go back here. So I know the company has 175 employees and 7.5% are minority, 10 is female, but I did not get a printout on the subs that they're using. So let me go to Les Spittler. He's on with us. Any update there on the subs?
Yeah, good morning, Sam. We'll have to follow up and get that information back for the board. We don't have, I don't have the information on the subs at this moment. It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
But it is fair to say that the board always encourages our contractors to use DBEs and minority contractors whenever they can. So I think just extending to them that's the desire and what we'd like to see them do is really important as they draft their response and get back to us. So if I'm understating that or overstating that, Keith, let me know.
No, you're right on point. Thank you very much, President Warner.
And just to emphasize in this particular contract, sometimes there's manufacturers. It sounds like here's a case where we have a manufacturer that produces something that we don't necessarily have a bunch of options for. And in many cases, they own a lot of the supply chain and the installation because they must, you know, not everybody knows how to work with their stuff. So I understand that sometimes those things do occur. We're in one of those industries where some vendors don't have, or some products don't have a lot of vendors for them. Nevertheless, there's opportunities for community benefits. So even if it's not in the subcontracting information we get, you know, we typically in these proposals will get information about the workforce that makes up that particular entity. So if it's a high self-performing contract, it would still be good to know the sort of community benefit they have through the workforce that they employ. Those are fantastic information points, especially for what sounds to me like a long-standing vendor here in, I believe it sounds like a U.S. company. Just taking a leap there. Thank you.
Good comments.
I just had a quick question.
Please.
Sorry, hard to see people on the screen. My question was just around the longevity of this particular machine. I was reading through the resolution and I didn't know what was the lifespan, I guess is another word of this, and when we would need a potential replacement, if it's several decades from now or just what that time frame would look like.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Director Way. So I'm going to bring in Dan. He's our technical expert here. Dan, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The life of this machine is considered at about 30 years, but that's assuming a 15-year overhaul period at the midlife.
Okay, that's great. And do you, I guess just as a follow-up, would you see any advancements in technology that we might want to consider after the 15-year mark? It's just not an area of expertise for me, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around when we would need to repurchase, and if there are new technology that we should be exploring further down the road.
The technology piece is actually a very important portion of the midlife overhaul, because the actual bulk of the cost is the replacement of the electronics. As you know, lifespan of electronics is measured in years, not decades. So at the 15-year point, this is going to be ancient technology and upgraded at that time. A good example of this would be the Elmonica machine, which was overhauled about 3 years ago, and all of the electronics and computer controls were replaced along with the mechanical overhaul.
Hey, Sam, this is Taylor. I was able to dig through and found some information on the installation of the machine, and it looks like Simmons self-performs all of the work. They have technicians that they'll deploy, and they have their own engineers that will come out and make sure it's installed appropriately. So they don't plan on subcontracting any of the installation work.
Thanks for the update. So Simmons will install and train and not use subcontractors.
All right, so more questions? Not hearing any. Are we ready for a vote then? All those, I think, in favor of the motion to approve resolution 21-06-37, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
President Warner,
Yes.
I apologize. I have to take off. Thank you, board members. I apologize as well, and the general manager and staff. Bruce, I will be in touch with you. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Correct. All right, let's go on then to the final resolution, which is resolution 21-06-38, which is authorizing a contract with Transdev Services, Inc., Transdev, for Lyft Paratransit transportation services. This is a big deal, I think. So, Mr. General Manager.
So President Warner and Board, this is our last resolution before you today, which authorizes the execution of a contract with Transdev Services, Inc. For our Lyft Paratransit transportation services. As you remember, Lyft provides service to people within our Trimet service district who have disabilities or health conditions that prevent them from using our fixed route service. It's a door-to-door service that meets or exceeds the ADA standards. Since 1980, Trimet has contracted with an independent company that then provides the personnel, operators, maintenance, and dispatchers for Lyft. First Transit has served Trimet since 2004 in this role, and their contract expires this year. Trimet issued a request for proposal for these Lyft paratransit services in February of this year. Trimet received 3 proposals, one from First Transit, another from MV Transportation, and then a third from Transdev. The evaluation committee ranked the firms on qualifications, key staff, and diversity, and then understanding of the work and pricing. Understanding of the work included recruitment and retention practices, customer service and training, and diversity and inclusion practices. A former customer standout or standpoint here, and also other sub-criteria. Transdev also ranked exceptionally higher than the other 2. Transdev's parent company is Transdev North America. It's the largest private sector operator of multiple modes of transit in North America. It manages over 200 transportation contracts for cities, transit authorities, and airports. It is also a leader in providing paratransit and non-emergency medical transport in the United States. Among these reasons that Trimet rose above the other firms, the selection committee noted a highly skilled management team, a more progressive and collaborative approach to service delivery, added technology, included a rider quality assurance app to make for a better customer experience, additional training content and hours, and better sensitivity around interacting with people experiencing disabilities. Transdev workforce is 80% minority, 33% female. The top 3 executive positions are held by women, and the CEO, General Counsel, and COO of alternative services are all women. The contract's total value will be just over $203 million over 6 years. The first year of the contract amount is accounted for in our FY 2022. Your approval is requested. Today, I have with me the Director of Accessible Transportation Programs, Margot Moore, and also Manager Eileen Collins are here with anything technical, any questions about the process they can answer.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. I'd like to get a motion on the table to approve Resolution 21-06-38 and then get into questions. So is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll move, Linda.
Okay. Is there a second?
Laverne seconds.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's start with whoever wants the first question. I know there's going to be some.
This is Eileen Collins. I'm happy to field any questions that come up around this contract.
I have a first question, I think.
Okay, please.
The ball rolling. Do we have an existing contract with Transdev currently? And would this be a first time that we have entered into contract with that Transdev?
This would be the first time we are entering a contract with Transdev.
Yep. But Ozzy, this is Margot. First time for Trimet. However, when I was actually working King County Metro contract up in Seattle, I did have an opportunity to work with them. At that time, their name was Veolia. They've now changed over to Transdev, but they are an incredible company when it comes to transportation. Great reputation.
Thank you. That the name Veolia rings a bell. Could you speak to what their presence is currently then within Oregon or within the metro region?
They don't currently have a contract in the metropolitan region, but at 200 properties throughout the United States, they have a strong presence. And we could provide you a list of other properties that they are currently serving the paratransit function at, if you would like. Be happy to get that for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very exciting. This is an exciting opportunity for them to expand into this region. I'm excited to see what happens. There's a lot of need for better transit, and they're going to be hiring, I'm guessing. So really excited to see what happens.
Thank you.
Margot and Eileen, we did involve our CAT committee in conversations. We talk a little bit about that, about Jane Campbell's involvement in the team as well.
Yes, we did review. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's fine.
We did review this change with our Committee on Accessible Transportation at the meeting last week, and there were no questions from the group. We'll just make sure that that Transdev is actively engaged with our Committee on Accessible Transportation, which has always been our past practice with our contractor, to have them front and center with the committee to make sure that we're continuing to meet the needs of our community.
So this is Bruce. I have a question. It's obviously they rank very highly compared to the current and other contenders in this. This is going to take some change or a transition time. Could you talk to me about kind of the timing and how long for the new contractor to actually take charge here, and kind of what the plan is? Because this is obviously going to be require a lot of coordination, I assume.
Yes, you make absolutely accurate assumptions. We have a 3-month transition period planned. First Transit extended we did a 3-month extension to their current contract to take us into the end of September this year. And as soon, I know that there is a representative of Transdev listening in here, so I'm guessing as soon as, and if the resolution is passed, we will immediately start working on what that transition plan looks like. They stipulated in their response to the RFP that they are committed to retaining existing operators. And so they'll take on that hiring process and ensure that we continue to have the best of the best representing Trimet and serving our community. And there's a different structure they have than what we have currently utilized with First Transit. So we're eager to see how we can make that transition more rapidly. And our team at Lyft on the operations side has already started to pull together all of the policies, procedures, onboarding that we are aware of so that we can help ease in that transition process.
So if I heard that right, so within 3 months, they'll be in charge?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
We are all excited.
A quick question that I have just to the folks here is just around sort of that piece around onboarding and training, since this is a new contractor that we're working with. And I think that I'm specifically looking for how we can also, include them into the conversations around diversity, equity, inclusion, and, making sure that, our customers and our passengers especially feel safe and feel supported. Can you provide any details as to how we will, do that onboarding and training piece? I guess that will take place hopefully in the earlier months when they come on board. But I just wanted to highlight that. I think that is an important piece whenever we bring in new folks to help serve our ridership.
We couldn't agree with you more. That was specifically one area that we really emphasized and underscored the importance of a really comprehensive training curriculum around cultural sensitivity, all of the other protected classes of sensitivity. Our riders all experience disability in one form or another, and they may have compounding factors with low income, being in an underserved population that we found to be very critically lacking, I think, in how we had been providing service historically. And so we really pushed hard to get in a more comprehensive curriculum, and that curriculum will be what we start reviewing with them once the contract, once and if the contract is approved. So thank you for underscoring that with us as well.
Great, thank you.
I guess I just have one other question. One of the things we've seen is seems like there's been some friction between First Transit and ATU. Is ATU up to speed on all the changes that we're making here, and have they been engaged at all in dialogue with you?
They have not been
ATU is
engaged.
aware. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, they are aware. They have not been engaged in any dialogue per se, but they are aware of the RFP that went out and the process that we went through and where we are at this point. Yes.
Great, thank you.
And
Welcome.
if I may add, they are also actively working with First Transit right now on what that transition looks like, and Transdev has committed to working with them on that transition as well.
Thanks. Other questions by the board? Hearing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution 21-06-38, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. This is an exciting change. Thank you very much to the staff and to the board for this one. I'll look forward to seeing all this, how this is implemented over the next few months. All right, Mr. General Manager, Board, I don't see anything else to come before us today. We have no ordinances. We have no briefing. I think that was done for me. So is there anything else that needs to come for us today, before us today?
Nothing from my standpoint.
Okay. And I'm hearing nothing from the board. So hearing none, I'm going to adjourn our business meeting, and for the last time, I'm going to adjourn our business meeting. And again, wish you folks luck, and I have great faith in the staff and the board to guide this agency, and I will look forward to working with you because I do firmly believe in public transit. So thanks for what you do all. Have a good rest of the day.
Two.